Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to bring the House to order, and I request that anybody who's standing should please take their seats. So thank you, everybody, for attending our closing debate. For those of you who this is your first time here, this debate is possibly the largest gathering of attendees for any one of the events that we have throughout the e-learning program. And again, just a bit of history, again, for those of you who this is your first time here. This debate was the brainchild of Dr. Harold Daniel Hope Elston, who sadly passed away last year. And in his honor, I would like us all to stand and observe a minute of silence. For those who, like me, had the privilege of knowing and meeting Harold, he was an absolutely fascinating and bubbly gentleman who looked unapproachable, but at the moment you got to know him, it was almost impossible to leave his side, and had so much knowledge about so many things. In fact, a lot of the ideas and a lot of the concepts that we are now enjoying here at the eLearning Africa actually came from him. And we absolutely give thanks and grace for the time that we had with him here. So my name is Michael Onyango, and I'm going to be the chairperson for this debate this evening. And we're excited to have a well-versed panel, and I will be introducing each of them shortly, and then I will go into what the motion is all about. So on my extreme left is Ife Obidi Isane, who's a tech-savvy teacher, international teacher from Nigeria. So in Nigeria, where she comes from, she's a well-known personality. She's known for her appearances on various TV shows that feature on matters education. She's also been featured in a lot of prominent different media publications, such as The Sun. She's been on Wazobia TV, Wazobia FM. She's been on TV commercials. She's very passionate about women, kids, and so she's also been on Mothers and TV shows. And The Guardian women publication has underscored and recognized her as a prominent personality within the industry. But beyond Nigeria, she also stretches her work across the continent, and she has done various things in Rwanda here. She's also taken upon her to run masterclasses in Dubai that have advocated for the flipped classroom model. Within the European continent, she has completed the Women in Leadership program for the European Union University of Luxembourg, and with distinction. So that is Ife Obidi Isane. The next person I'm going to introduce is Professor Paul Birevu Muyinda, who's a professor of open and distant e-learning from Makerere University. So he's a certified blended learning developer and an online instructional designer. He's interested with respect to his research on matters digital pedagogy and andragogy, where he's worked with different education and training institutions to champion this course. I think one of the most prominent things that I need to mention that he did do was during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown, he ensured the universities in Nairobi in Uganda remained afloat and open. When it comes to publication, he has more than 100 research articles in open and distant and e-learning. And he's also received various grants, which has included the NORHED 2 grant from MasterCard e-learning initiative, COICA distant learning program, amongst others. So, and as per Bob Little's 2018 ranking of online pedagogy gurus, he is ranked amongst the 100 top movers and shakers of online cooperative education in Africa. Next, we're back to Nigeria again, and I'm going to introduce Kennedy Ekezie. Did I get it right? Ekezie, thank you. Great. Okay, so Kennedy, a lot of you who have your children using TikTok in your homes, he's responsible for that disaster. In 2018, he led the growth of the expansion of TikTok in Africa. And he also has, and then also before that, he worked for Kipper, which served over 850,000 businesses and managed to secure over $12 million in funding. He's also won the Queen's Young Leaders Award and the Young African Leaders Fellowship, and he holds a master's from Peking University and has a bachelor in philosophy, and he graduated as the youngest student ever from the University of Calabar. And Kennedy was also Nigeria's top competitive debater for 2 years during his studies. And finally, last but not least, is Verusha Maharaj, who's from South Africa. So we have the continent here, right from the west all the way down to the south. So Verusha is currently the managing director at Red and Yellow Creative School of Business. She has an honorary United Universities Members Institution with more than 14 years experience in marketing and in the advertising industries with roles across brand, agency, and consulting space. Her present role combines her passion for marketing and advertising with her commitment to closing the skills and diversity gap within the next generation of creative talent. One most outstanding thing about Red and Yellow is that they celebrate a 93% employment rate for students within 2 months of graduating. So ladies and gentlemen, these are our debaters. Let's give them a round of applause. And I'll now go into reading what it is that they'll be debating on. So the motion is that the House believes that the traditional education system will become obsolete in the digital age. Let me give you some context and some background to what will be informing this motion this afternoon in this House. In an era marked by the rapid technological advancements, the relevance of traditional education systems is increasingly under scrutiny. As we advance further into the digital age, the structure and efficacy of traditional education and training systems across all levels, that is primary, secondary, and higher education, vocational training and workplace learning are being reevaluated. The motion opens the floor to debate the future of education in an era dominated by digital innovation. It questions assessment methods, whether they can sustain, thrive, or will be overtaken by the rise of digital platforms, online courses, and virtual learning environments. Will traditional education adapt, integrate, or become obsolete in the face of digital revolution? This plenary session promises a vigorous exchange of views in highlighting the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for education in the digital age. So each of the debaters have 10 minutes, and for the motion, the team for the motion is Effie and Paul, and against the motion is both Kennedy and Verusha. So we'll ask Effie to open for the motion, and she has 10 minutes to complete that.
Thank you. My honorable chair, respected opponents, and my highly esteemed audience, I stand before you today to present to you a motion that says traditional education will become obsolete in the digital era. It is crucial to recognize that nearly half of the current population of the workforce skills are expected to become obsolete in 2 years, just 2 years. So with these statistics, scary statistics, it underscores the urgency with which we must adapt our educational systems to prepare for a rapidly evolving job market. And I believe that's why you're here. You are here because if you do not do something very fast, you might just go extinct. I'm not here because EdTech is fancy. I'm here because I'm a teacher. I peer into those eyes every morning, and I see the need to leverage the opportunities that the digital age presents. That's why I'm a teacher. And that's why we need to become tech savvy. What is traditional education, by the way? What does obsolete mean? And what does digital age mean? We're going to be breaking all of this down. Follow me. Obsolete means something that is not useful. It's not relevant. What does the traditional education system mean? A system characterized by rigid approaches, an irrelevant approach to the current dispensation, and a one-size-fits-all approach, putting square pegs in round holes. Now that's what the traditional method entails. So you can answer for yourself. I believe the answer is very obvious here. I propose the motion that says, I repeat, that the traditional system of education will fast become obsolete in a digital era. I have 4 points to buttress my point.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
Allowed.
I don't think we've gotten enough definition, Tiffy. So for traditional education, I think what this House needs is a characteristic definition of the components that make up traditional education,
okay,
and then juxtapose that with what makes up digital education, and I think that frames today's debate.
Okay, so like I just said, I listed the characteristics already. I should not be interrupted. Yes, so like I said, I would not appreciate that anymore. I've not even started. So like I said, I mean, come on. I've actually summed it up. I will not use my mind. So like I was saying, traditional education system is characterized, not my phone, traditional system of education is characterized by a one-size-fits-all approach. So what do I mean? There are 20 children in your classrooms, and how do you expect to get the desired learning outcome when you're using the same approach to learning? That's generic. That's not realistic. So that's what I mean, Kennedy, by a one-size-fits-all approach. Secondly, you're talking about a world that does not even fit. I studied education. Guess what? We were asked to use typewriters, not computers. And I left the university. There was nothing like that in existence. So please, the traditional educational system is fast becoming obsolete. Don't argue with me. It's fast becoming obsolete. And that's why you are here, right? To salvage what we have left. Because if you do not do, our children will not see your relevance. I have a 4-year-old baby. Her tenacity, the way she navigates my phone, and I'm asking in 10 years to come, what is going to happen? If teachers do not become tech savvy, we have more children leaving our educational system. We've seen it so many times. So are we going to let our children drop out of school because they do not see the relevance of a traditional teacher who thinks that he or she is the alpha and the omega of information? ChatGPT, Google, YouTube, they don't need you. But hey, our role as teachers is fast changing. We are the ones to direct our children. And that's where the digital era comes in. So if the traditional era does not come up to speed and evolve, then it will become obsolete. So there is a need for skill adaptation. We need the skills. And that's why the company I run, Tech Savvy Teacher, is actually a testament to this. Being in the classroom setting, we need the required skill set. The children we teach are digital natives. They are born into the world of technology. They are by default. That's their default setting. We're talking about we, the millennials, the early bloomers. I mean, talking about we were not born into the age of technology. We came and technology met us. We find having a meeting online difficult. It takes a stretch. Do you agree with me? Good. So we have to be intentional in our approach. We have to be intentional in our approach. So please let us leave the traditional and come to this digital era. You are talking about, you want to even argue about technology or about traditional. I mean, if this room was highly tech and the doors were locked the way it is now, can the traditional learners survive here? Can they survive? They'll be frantic.
Point of information, Mrs.
I do not want to be interrupted. They would not survive. Look, it's already self-explanatory. The dispensation we are in, the information age, the age of social media, it cannot accommodate traditional approach. Did you listen to Madam CEO? I hope she's here. Madam CEO she was from a traditional setting where she never even saw what a computer looked like. Could she survive? She had to cross border. she had to understand what it is to operate in a digital setting. And she started learning skills. She started understanding what it is to thrive online. She was paying her school fees. So in a traditional setting, can it accommodate a student learning and working at the same time? With a traditional method of education, you have to be in a particular classroom setting. Am I right? But in a digital era, e-learning is possible. It's possible. I hope you are understanding my point and you agree with me beyond all reasonable doubt. Don't allow anybody to confuse you. That the traditional educational system will, it's just a matter of time, become obsolete.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker. You have less than 1 minute. I'm trying to help you here. Easy.
Allow me to talk, okay? Thank you. Talking about personalized learning and skill development. For 7 years, it's been my passion for educators to take the teaching and learning materials beyond the four walls of the classroom, to automate the African teacher. That's what the digital natives crave for. And that's why they are constantly on their iPads. That's why they are constantly on the screen, because they do not accommodate traditional approach. The only way you can win my argument is to change the type of learning our children learn by. They are wired that way. You cannot change it. You will struggle with it, but you cannot change it. So with these few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you and not to confuse you that the traditional educational system will fast become obsolete in a digital era.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We now move to Verusha, who is going to be against the motion that the House believes that the traditional education system will become obsolete in the digital age. And she has 10 minutes. We will.
Honorable Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, I am here to firmly oppose the motion that this House believes that the traditional education system will become obsolete in the digital age. This assertion that the traditional education system will become obsolete overlooks several key aspects that are fundamental to holistic learning and development. While it's undeniable that technology has revolutionized various aspects of our lives, including education, it's both premature and simplistic to claim that it will render the traditional system obsolete. I would like to start by asking a basic question, and that is, what is education for? It must be remembered that the purpose of education is not to fill the minds of students with random facts. It is to teach them to think. As Martin Luther King Jr. put it, the function of education is to teach one to think extensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education.
Point of information, Chair.
Would you, I'll carry on. It's okay, thank you. Would you all agree with this? I'm sure you will agree with this. That's why we're all here.
Let us allow the point of information. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, precurrent Speaker. You're saying, what's the purpose of education? The purpose of education is actually to produce a person who can utilize the education to be well off. Now, the traditional system cannot produce a person who fits in the present digital era. And that's why we have a lot of unemployment, because of people cannot fit in the digital era.
I think there are two different schools of thought, Hambodian and Bulldog, and we can agree to disagree on that point. Intelligence plus character, to me, is the true goal of education. And there were many of you that did agree on that point, so let's not forget that. We would be facing a dire state of affairs if we started to think that our purpose is just to teach skills, because training and education are not the same thing. So let's keep this in mind as the debate continues. Before we can actually discuss how to replace a practice, we need to clarify what good practice looks like in the first place. Otherwise, we risk promoting practices that are not actually very effective. Our first speaker highlighted the meaning of obsolete. Let's reiterate, shall we? No longer produced or used. So if we disregard the traditional education system stating that there is no use for it going forward, then what about one, equity and access? Because despite the widespread availability of digital technology, there are still significant barriers to access for many students, particularly those from marginalized communities. Not all students have access to reliable internet connection, computers, or digital devices. REIC 2019 recognizes that digital equity is inextricably linked to pedagogical and structural inequality more broadly. The traditional education system ensures that education remains accessible to all segments of society, regardless of their digital literacy. 2, what about balanced development? Because we have heard this, screen time, digital natives, I heard you well. Over-reliance on digital tools can lead to issues such as screen fatigue, reduced physical activity, and a lack of experiential learning. Traditional education systems promote a balanced approach incorporating physical education, arts, and other activities that contribute to the well-rounded development of individuals. For example, the PISA rankings, which measure a 15-year-old's ability in math, reading, and science, the top spots are a handful of Asian countries, but Estonia ranks next as the best in Europe. Why? Because their focus is on social and personal skills, such as music, arts, robotics. Dare I say it? What about zombification? Because it has been noted again that screens cause ADHD and other forms of neurodivergence in children. We have seen this well. And while we can speculate about what could happen if traditional education became obsolete, we have enough data that highlights this very thing. Because the COVID pandemic accelerated the adoption of online education, and during the pandemic, many educational institutions shifted to remote learning. But despite the benefits, it led to many challenges and fatigue. And studies have shown that many students experience Zoom fatigue. And the lack of face-to-face interactions also led to reduced social connections and motivation. In fact, researchers compared student assessments in spring 2020 to the previous semesters and found vast variations in student outcomes. In fact, our own students at Red and Yellow complained about their inability to focus and engage fully online. Are we trying to create human robots that are not able to think for themselves or think laterally? Are we trying to promote zombification? And then there's decolonization. Because we speak of rapid technological advancements, and I would like to ask, where does this technology come from and these resources? Because it is not from the people of Africa. And I continuously notice how the education system can shape us to further colonization. It is one thing to use branded words that a school or university may have created, but to be asked to speak and write in ways that change your voice and ideas is how colonization continues and furthered rather than reconciled. Increasingly, we speak about decolonization across our curricula. So how so is this not applied to the online or digital classroom? Where is Afrofuturism featured here? And lastly, the pedagogy of discomfort. I have heard the point noting that online can be done in your own time and space. But how is this ideal for learning or critical thinking and analysis? This approach intentionally challenges students' existing beliefs, perspectives, and comfort zones to think critically. Think of it like going to the gym. When you exercise, you push your muscles out of their comfort zone to make them stronger. Similarly, the pedagogy of discomfort pushes students outside of their comfort zone, i.e., not in their own time or space, to create thinking that is more resilient and flexible. And this manifests in the traditional education system in many ways, such as constructive feedback, debate, critique, alternative viewpoints. I can go on. While digital resources can provide access to vast amounts of information, they may also promote passive learning rather than critical thinking and creativity. In a traditional classroom, teachers encourage students to analyze, evaluate, and apply knowledge in real-world context. They foster creativity by challenging students to think outside the box and explore new ideas. The traditional education system prioritizes the development of critical thinking skills, which are essential in the digital age, where information is abundant, but discernment is key. In conclusion, while digital advancements offer valuable tools for enhancing education, the traditional education system remains irreplaceable for its role in providing a comprehensive, equitable, and human-centric approach to learning. It is the synergy between traditional and digital methods that will define the future of education, not the obsolescence of one by the other. As an example, in the traditional education setting, we can start to leverage and utilize adaptive learning technologies that use artificial intelligence to personalize the learning experience for each student. These technologies can analyze student data, adjust the content and pace of instruction based on individual needs and preferences. So if we go back to my opening question and statement, if we say that education exists to create better humans who are able to think critically, then rather than viewing the two systems as mutually exclusive, we should strive to integrate digital tools into the traditional classroom to enhance learning while preserving those valuable aspects.
Are you encouraging digital?
Thank you. While preserving the valuable aspects of traditional education, or as I like to say, different modes of study for different modes of your life. And I am absolutely sure that you will agree with me on this, because after all, is that not how we all ended up here today? Thank you.
You are supporting the two.
Thank you very much, Verusha. And for those of you who will be watching this on YouTube later on, a disclaimer: the points that are being argued by the various panelists are positions which they've taken for the purposes of this debate, and not necessarily positions which they hold in terms of the work that they do. So let that be clear for those of you who will be watching this later on YouTube and on video. But we're extremely excited that we're able to stretch our minds, stretch our thinking, and stretch our thought processes, and be able to understand deeper matters and deeper issues from various sides. So next is none other than Professor Paul Muyinda to come in. And he is for the motion. So let us hear him out.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I am here to propose the motion that the traditional education system is really going to be obsolete. Honorable members of the House, you know very well that the tools we use normally characterize the age system we are in. Now, in which age system are we? If you look at what history has told us that we came from the Stone Age, we went to the Bronze Age, we went to the Iron Age, and then we went to the Industrial Age. Which Industrial Age has actually the first Industrial Revolution, the second Industrial Revolution, the third Industrial Revolution, and now the fourth Industrial Revolution, which is the Digital Age. Now, I am asking, in which age are these traditional education systems in, or which age were they meant? Can anyone tell me? They were meant for the industrial age. They were meant for producing workers who have to go and get a specified job. But now, in the fourth industrial revolution of the digital age, we no longer have those fixed jobs. In fact, the jobs of tomorrow, we cannot be able to specify them today. And therefore,
Point of information, sir.
Having a curriculum which actually produces learners that are on fixated jobs, is indeed something that is of obsolescence.
So let us allow that point of information. Go ahead.
So the traditional education system historically has allowed us go from Stone Age through the different industrial revolutions. Why can't it do that now? Why can't it evolve? It's historically shown that it's been able to evolve. You need to give us an account for why it can no longer do that and why we're at a time where digital learning completely replaces its ability to do that.
It can no longer do that because it's based on an inflexible model. A model that cannot be able to, look at what the future demands. It doesn't look at the future it has no futures foresight. So that's why it cannot be able to take us there. Chairperson and members, so because we are in the digital age, the traditional education system cannot stand in the digital age. But again, we ask ourselves right now whether we do have a truly traditional education system. Do we have one? Because for me, in my definition of a traditional education system is that which actually is inflexible, one which does not, uptake technology, one which actually looks at only the traditional ways of doing things. But I am saying, actually, the previous speaker here said that we should be able now to embrace digital systems and blend them with the traditional system. Isn't that already telling you that you are blending because your system has become obsolete? Why don't you stay where you are? Why do you bring in digital systems? That is proof enough to show that your system is obsolete, and therefore you are trying to make it good in the digital age. So we no longer have traditional education systems. They are already obsolete. Tell me whether there's an education institution which does not use any digital systems, even if it is in the rural areas, because even the teachers in the rural areas are using mobile phones to get resources. So are those traditional methods? If tell me a teacher here from the rural area, they are using their smartphones to get materials to teach their learners. Those are not traditional methods. Therefore, we contend that traditional education systems have already become obsolete. They have already become obsolete. So, now let's assume that they are not yet obsolete. Let's just assume that they are not obsolete. Okay. I can assure you, members, that if they exist, very soon, these traditional education systems are going to be obsolete, assuming that they exist. But I've already said that they don't exist because they became long obsolete. As you know, an education system is a business. It's a business system. And it must be sustainable. It must make profits. It must pay its proprietors. It must produce the right products. A product relevant in the market. Can you throw a digitally imbecile graduate on the job market of today and you expect them to compete? Of course, no. Madam CEO was here. She told you very well that she only learned how to use a computer at age 20. And then at age 23, she was already producing in the market. She was already working and making money. Now, tell me, assuming we have so many of these Madam CEOs in this country, can they be able to take their children to the traditional system where she went? And therefore, if traditional education systems are a business, they will lose clients. They will not have any clients. And therefore, they will become obsolete. Members, we have been in this conference and we have been looking at ChatGPT, generative AI, and so on. So I used generative AI to ask, tell me some companies that have become obsolete as a result of not being innovative. And I was given this list. They told me Kodak. Kodak. Do you remember that camera which we used to use? It is obsolete. Education systems also which are not moving into innovation, they are going to be like Kodak. There is a Polaroid. It is slow, because of their slow transition from instant films to digital photography, they became obsolete. Even Compaq, it also became obsolete. There are so many companies that became obsolete because they failed to transition to the digital age. And education systems are not living outside these realms. They will also become obsolete, just like these companies have become obsolete. Yeah, so members, you saw how our traditional education systems became obsolete during COVID-19 because they failed to move to the digital age. And those that were in the digital age were able to continue. So assume that now we are in the digital age. Do you think those traditional education systems will hold? You know, honorable members. Last week, I read an article which was saying that private schools in Rwanda were closing down. Is that correct, the people from Rwanda here? Because they were failing to attract customers. And reason being, the private schools, the public schools, even the minister was here telling us they have invested heavily in digital systems. And that's why they have become more attractive to the public. And therefore, you can see already these private schools that are not investing in digital skills atrophying, getting out of business, and therefore becoming obsolete. Honorable members, in Uganda, we have already realized that we are becoming obsolete. And that's why we changed our curriculum at the lower secondary school to a competence-based curriculum which utilizes ICTs for teaching and also for learning. And so we have already realized this. We have moved away. We have also introduced a new policy, national teacher policy, which is creating a new teacher for the digital age. Because we know that the teacher for the old age, for the traditional system, is quite obsolete. So our national teacher policy 2019 is actually trying to respond to the needs of the digital age. Members, this world we are living in is a VUCA world. VUCA is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Honorable members, if we are living in this world, the traditional education system cannot stand in the VUCA world. A world which is volatile, a world which is uncertain, a world which is complex, and a world which is ambiguous. It's only the education system in the digital age which will be able to fit in this. Now, we are also having the emergence of other education models. For example, open campuses, open courseware schooling. MIT is an open courseware university, and also the #1 university in the world, according to QS World University Ranking. And who of you doesn't want to go to MIT to get a degree? Yet, this is not a traditional university, and that's why many of us would want to go there. Those are new models coming up. Homeschooling. These are new models that are quite appealing. When we are looking at how to nurture our children, we want to be with our children at home, teach them at home with our presence as parents. Homeschooling is based on this digital age. Online distance education,
Thank you
those
very
are models.
much. Thank you. Your
Thank you very
time
much.
is up.
In conclusion, I will say I have already said
Thank you.
that traditional education systems are no longer holding.
I have observed from the floor that there's a lot of interest and there's a lot of confusion because I see the same people nodding and the same people clapping for the other side. So I hope by the time we're coming to vote, it will not be the case of the proverbial hyena who went down the road and tried to eat them from both sides. I'll ask Kennedy to come forward and to continue against the motion.
Sorry, just reset my time because I've not started yet. Honestly, that last speech left us much more confused than we started. But Mr. Speaker, House at large, if we put aside the shenanigans we got from this side of the House, what we got from them was two things, two primary things. So the first thing they said was, where are those notes? All right. So first thing they said was we need to adopt our educational system to fit the changing needs of the world. So note that the extent of the argument we get from the first proposition speaker, who I desperately was trying to help in her speech, was the problem statement. The problem statement is one we agree with, right? I think everyone in this room, including us, we agree that we need to continue to evolve. We need to adapt our world to meet the changing needs. And that's something that, like I said in my point of information, we've done historically. We no longer collect fruits, light fire with stones. And our educational system has been built in such a way that over time it's helped us adapt through the various industrial revolutions and has bettered systems that have provided us the world that we live in. So that's all, beyond the theatrics, that's all we get from the first speaker. The second speaker, much more confusing. What he tells us is, traditional education is inflexible. Firstly, that's not true. He clearly started out in response to my point of information by saying, look, traditional education has seen its insufficiencies. That's why it's trying to adapt digital means. So that's a clear concession that traditional education is not as inflexible as they try to make it seem. And we all know, if we're being intellectually honest, most universities have digital programs. You can get certificates online. Most universities have digital learning institutes, and that continues to improve. So the extent of the argument we get from the fantastic second speaker is built on a lie, thus does not qualify when you vote. Okay, so I'm going to come back to them in our second speech, but
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Kennedy, what is traditional education?
Fantastic.
Do not deviate. Answer me.
Fantastic. That was the exact same question I asked her. And it is the job of, listen, it's the job of the first speaker in a debate to set the definition. So she failed to do that. That was my question, if you remember. So I'm going to answer that question very clearly. What do we expect from a prop side in today's debate? A robust definition of what the traditional education system means. They did not give that. I'm generous, so I came to the table with that. So, in all its forms, all over the world, traditional education comprises the following: face-to-face learning, standardized curriculum and syllabuses, teacher-student relationships, institutional and administrative structures that ensure accountability and discipline, socialization with peers, whether that's classrooms or excursions, extracurricular activities like sport, like debate, which they don't seem to know how to do very well, and parental involvement through mechanisms like open days, parent-teacher associations, etc. What we needed from the prop team in today's debate is a detailed account of what a world without all these baked into our education system looks like. They failed to provide us that account. And the extent of argument of the definition for traditional education system is it's inflexible. I was trying to save her from herself, but she failed to take my help. It's also intellectually dishonest. There's so much intellectual dishonesty from that side. God. It's also intellectually dishonest for us to compare some conjured up ideal version of what digital learning and education is, and to compare that with, say, the worst forms of traditional learning. So let's ground this debate in some facts. $300 billion is spent annually today on digital learning. 20%, less than 20% of all digital courses get completed. Less than 10% of all self-paced learning that's online gets completed. So they've tried to paint a very rosy picture, and it's actually not grounded in fact. But when you compare it to stats from traditional education, the graduation rate in primary schools across the world is 92%. In the country with the least number, which is Chad, that graduation rate is 43%, and still outperforms digital education in all its forms with how much money we all spend on it. This is, however, not to say there's no room for us to continue to evolve that, but the idea that it's become obsolete because we have new means and mechanisms of learning is one that's completely false, and even children don't believe that. Okay, so by way of substantive argumentation, I'm going to tell you three things, in addition to the very sophisticated argumentation you get from Verusha, which, by the way, we don't get a response from them for. So, three things I'm going to tell you. The first is there's actually no historical evidence that new digital tools and the advancement in digital technology has made the traditional education system weaker. If anything, stronger. The first thing I'll say to that is we all suffer very significant recency bias. Yes, we're alive in a time where we're seeing AI, OpenAI, and ChatGPT, and we feel like we're very wowed by it. But this is not the first time that's happening, right? In the past 100 years, we've had very significant advancements in technology in the dot-com era, the rise of the supercomputer, microchips, and during all of those times, each of those epochs birthed digital tools. The first evidence of digital technology that we had, was as far back as the mid-50s, right? I can imagine there were some e-learning conferences that sat back there to debate that the traditional education system is dead. But we're here debating the same thing. And in 100 years, we'll still be having this argument because it's not the case. Secondly, in fields like communication, right? So the advent of digital technology tools have seen the usage of traditional postal services, for example, decline significantly by 50% over the past 2 years. On the flip side, in the past 10 years, the revenue of the top 100 universities in the world have gone up by at least 40%. So the newer technology we have, the stronger traditional education systems get. And we get no argumentation, no examples, nothing from that side of the house. So there's nothing for you to vote for, on that side at all. Second thing I want to tell you, I said I'll talk about 3 things. The traditional education system, and this is very, very, very important. The traditional education system is the most significant and sophisticated mechanism that we as a civilization have come up with for social mobility. It's a system where people of different racial, socioeconomic, political, ethnic backgrounds go into differently and come out, with much more equality than they went in with. We all, some of us here are probably beneficiaries of scholarships, programs, initiatives that change the course of our lives forever, including me. And all of this would not have been possible if we were learning on Zoom, or using digital tools alone. So the ability to meet and interact with people from other backgrounds, other races, and allow them shape us, and we in turn shape them, helps with the development of the civilization that we want to see. Thirdly, and very importantly, the systems of thought in our society that have shaped the development of different civilizations and different epochs have been birthed in the context of traditional education systems. As far back as ancient Greek civilizations, which were built on the Socratic method. We had Socrates, who influenced Plato, who influenced Aristotle, who influenced Archimedes, who is probably the greatest mathematician known to human history, and the result of whose inventions we still enjoy today. It's impossible, and this happened over the course of 400 years. And that's something about traditional education. There's systems of documentation that can be passed down from generation to generation, and each generation can build upon those systems of knowledge, which is completely impossible with just digital learning. Finally, since they like to talk about the Industrial Revolution that started in the 1750s birthed most of the innovation that we enjoy today. We have electricity, we're sitting here, this roof is not going to cave in. That was as a result of a lot of innovations that were made in the context of traditional education systems. Newtonian physics, advancement in chemistry, advancement in metallurgy, right? Without which we would not enjoy all of the benefits that we have today. Personally, I probably wouldn't want to get into an airplane that was built by an aeronautic engineer who went to school on Zoom. And I don't think any of us will feel comfortable doing that. So, ladies and gentlemen, my time is almost up. But today's debate is seriously about what sort of world we want to live in, right? One where the institutions that build the society that we enjoy are made obsolete, or one where we retain them, we build upon them, we take advantage of new technologies and strengthen them and make them better so those who come after us can enjoy some of the benefits that we've enjoyed. When you vote today, I encourage you to vote the former. I've never been more proud to oppose a motion.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I want to bring the House to order. We're now going to give you a chance, those of you in the audience, for an opportunity to ask questions to the panelists here. And again, I will just repeat what the motion is before the House. This House believes that traditional education system will become obsolete in the digital age. So we will take 3 questions at a time, and there's the first one behind there.
Hello. Hi. First of all of you are
And
excellent.
if you could please just introduce yourself briefly so we know who you are, then go ahead with your question. Thank you.
My name is Niyanta Shete. I work at Brandenburg Technical University, Cottbus in Germany. I'm a lecturer, academic employee, currently pursuing my PhD. So my first question is what the last speaker just said, is don't you think that traditional education built the scientists, the excellent innovations of today, the technology? For example, in NASA, they used to calculate, let's say, the trajectory of moon by hand before even computers were introduced. 3 questions at a time, right?
No, 1 question from each person. Wow. There's a lady in the middle here. Please stand up. The lady, just stand up. So bring the question to her. Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
And then we'll come to the front here. Yes.
My name is Amal Hamed. I'm from Egypt, and I work in a boarding school. So my boarding school believes that no technology should be used inside the classrooms. Well, I mean, like, they use laptops and everything, but their phones are always in the dorms, right? So they could live their life, have extracurriculars, go about their day, interact with people without having the phone all the time. We have seen that emotional stability of students are getting better. Parents are happier that their students are not glued to their phones. So my question is to this side of the house. How can a student learn emotional, social learning in the digital era? Thank you.
Thank you. And the gentleman in the front here.
Merci. Daniel Medeji from Benin, directeur du développement des programmes d'études. Je voudrais demander au dernier intervenant, avec celle qui travaille avec lui, est-ce qu'il faut comprendre de leur intervention qu'ils sont en train d'accepter que le système traditionnel ne va pas disparaître, mais il sera dans une complémentarité avec les atouts du numérique? Est-ce que c'est ça qu'il faut comprendre de leur intervention? Je vous remercie.
Okay, we'll respond. We'll ask them to respond to those 3 questions first, and we'll come back to the floor. Yes, so we'll ask them to respond to the 3 questions first, and we'll go back to the floor. So go ahead. One person from each team, please.
Sure. Do you guys want to go first?
Yes,
No,
okay.
it was.
You want to go first?
I think the first one.
Okay. I think when I was being introduced, the chairperson introduced me as also an instructional designer. And the problem we are having as people who are using technologies is we lack technology instructional designers. Now, as a case where the honorable member from Egypt, was it from Egypt? Yeah. Indicated that digital tools are taking away emotional intelligence or emotional learning of students is a problem of limited instruction design. Because it doesn't mean that in the digital age, we are going to sleep with technology all the time, that the kids are going to be with the technology all the time. Even within the digital system, you can embed a play where a student is using the system, then at a given time, you tell them to go out in the field and play, and then come back and report. So all those are instruction design challenges. So if you can embed proper instruction design in your system, you will be able to have children have the emotional systems, the social cohesion, and so on. So that is possible in the question you have asked. Then there was a question in the French-speaking honorable member whether we should be able to blend. I think it was about blending. Yes, and the members here also accepted that their system, their traditional system, is no longer holding, that we need to blend in technology so that then we can move together. They have accepted that it can no longer hold. And that's what exactly you're saying. It can't hold. So if something can't hold, you blend it. If you take a juice out there, we have seen those juice whatever cans there, and you feel that orange is not enough for you, it's not good tasting enough for you, so you can punch it with the apple. And so the punching is actually supporting our side, that this other side is actually obsolete. They must, unless they punch it with the digital tools, they will not hold. Thank you.
Did I just press this? Oh. I need to just backtrack on that because I have so much to say to you, but I'll answer the question. So both the speakers already, and this is to your point, the speaker in the front, have said that if you're not fast enough, you will become extinct. And they have themselves testified to the fact that the traditional education systems are already evolving, which means we are already embracing change, embracing digital tools within the traditional learning system, which means that that is already an evolution showing that the two can exist together effectively. I would like to also say that who says that you cannot evolve? Because let's remind ourselves what the definition of obsolete is, which both myself and Kennedy and Iffy have noted already, means no longer used. Then if, as they say, it is already obsolete, why are we walking around within our own universities that still exist today? They exist, but with the addition and adoption of digital tools and learning and enhancements to make it better. Thank you.
Okay, we shall take the next 3 rounds of questions. Whoa, that is a lot. So I will take one here in the front. I'll take the lady right there at the back. And to be fair, I will take the gentleman with his, yes, that one there. Yes, okay, fine.
Yeah, thank you for the exciting debate. I learned something about...
Please introduce yourself first, then yes, thank you.
My name is Namango, I come from Kenya. I'm an associate professor in chemical engineering. I'm not really going to ask a question, I'm going to support my group. If digital learning was there during the time the father of Obama went to the USA, we would not have had Obama. He would have learned from Kenya. So, you know, if we just adopt digital learning alone, we are going to miss so many Obamas. This is very important. That's one. The second one is that...
No, just one,
oh,
so you've had yours.
Thank you.
The lady right at the back, please.
Okay, my name is Kemi. I'm from Nigeria. Now, if this side had said maybe adapt or integrate and not stuck on obsolete, I may have been on their side. But the question I want to ask is because when we train teachers, especially in the edtech sector, we tell them that technology will not replace teachers. And if you're telling us that the traditional system of the traditional education is obsolete, are we also saying in the same vein that teachers will become obsolete? That's my question.
Thank you. And the gentleman, this gentleman here, please. Yes. I will try to balance it throughout the whole room. We'll come for another round of questions, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Professor Mike Ichampa from Ghana. I hope we are talking the context of Africa. We are talking as African. No? So, yes, we are here having a conference for Africa, even though we have other people supporting us. Those who are for the motion that the system will become obsolete, I hope they are also Africans. The professor there who spoke about the fact that the system not supporting those who are learning to learn effectively because there's an instructional design problem. Why do you want to do away with a system where you don't have a new system to replace it? There is a problem. You identify, you recognize it. You have not fixed it. And say 2 years time to become obsolete. How? I disagree. I think we evolve, we update. So the traditional system as designed for African and other systems evolve. So we have to embrace technology to make the system more effective. That's the way to go. So don't say that because you want to evolve, you want to update, therefore the system should be scrapped. No, it's not so. Otherwise, we all be zombies. They start move, then you move. We are learning, and let's learn how to update, how to embrace technology, to improve our existing system and move on, but we cannot do away with. So I don't support you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we've only had one question, so I'll take, because those two are comments, I'll take two more questions. Okay, the gentleman here, and then we'll take the lady here and the gentleman at the back. Yes.
My name is Antonio Makanga from Nairobi. Question is, how do the environmental impacts of maintaining traditional education compare to shifting entirely to digital education?
Okay, thank you. We'll take from the lady there and the gentleman at the back. Yes.
I'm Mildred Ayere from Kenya, and I am asking Professor and his team, if traditional education is obsolete, and which of our universities in Africa is not traditional? We are trying to embrace, but besides UNISA, we started 150 years ago with some form of online. Almost 90% of our universities, including your own, is traditional. So how are we obsolete?
Thank you. And the last one from the gentleman there, yes. And then we'll answer this round and we'll come back again.
Thanks very much, Chair. I'm Joshua Valeta. I'm the Director of Open Distance and eLearning in Malawi, the warm heart of Africa. I think, Chair, in all fairness, the debate is over. Because all we have in front there are proposers of the motion. The word traditional, if you were to follow up with any kind of dictionary, will end with, the definition of it will end with without changing. That's what tradition is. Today we are singing this song and working very hard to say, no, we need to preserve the way we do things in society, preserve, meaning you should not change the way we do things in Africa, in our tribes, that's tradition. Now, when it comes to education, so the supposedly opposer, the last one there, gave us the wrong definition of traditional education. It is not traditional education. It needs to be better informed. If you're looking at education, there's philosophy, there's the curriculum itself, and then there's the pedagogy that goes with it to deliver it. So you're looking at customs and ways in which you are educating. That is the tradition. Now you have agreed that that has changed significantly, and you accept that it should change, it should evolve. And for that reason, we are all agreeing here that the traditional education, the traditional way of offering education has not worked, and that's why we continue to evolve, and that evolving will reach a point where that very rudimentary way of offering education will no longer exist. The debate is over.
Okay, thank you. We'll get responses on the three questions first, and then we'll come back again to the floor. So just a moment, let's get responses first.
Okay, I think there are two questions directed at us, including the last one. First was environmental. How do we sort of cushion the environmental impact of traditional education? I think it's an important problem. But in the context of this debate, where we have to compare the environmental downsides or upsides of traditional versus digital learning, you know, the way we think about it is, firstly, when we think about the people who need education most in the world, they're in emerging economies where a lot of the infrastructure doesn't exist. So, for example, you know, to take 1 hour's worth of content, you have to turn on generators, especially if you don't go to school. So maybe we can say the 8 to 10 hours people spend in environments like schools where phones, where digital devices are not allowed, we're probably even saving, you know, much more power than they will if they had to use their devices, to power their devices, to use data, all of which have harmful impact on the environment. But that burden of proof, quite frankly, is not ours to prove, right? It's a global concern that affects multiple industries, and the world has to figure out a solution to that, which we concede. And the second, sir, with all due respect, I don't think, you know, the only definition we got in today's debate for what traditional education is the one that came from this side of the house. And like we said, in all its forms, historically, when you go back to the earliest conceptions of what school was, these have held constant. And our position is very clear. It would always hold constant, that would have face-to-face learning, standardized curriculum, administrative structures that help, you know, govern schools, you know, socialization, extracurricular activities. All of these have held constant, and our position is they are not going to change. Even within these, the way we administer them have continued to evolve. And like I said very clearly in my speech, that's how we have all of the benefits we have today. I don't know if you listened to my speech, but I'm happy to go over it again.
I would like to address Dr. Kemi. The traditional era, a very important component, teachers, right? The digital era, the drivers of technology are teachers. Teachers are at the heart. Now, the teachers who do not know how to use technology will be replaced by those who do. So I'm so grateful, sir. I'm so grateful. I mean, you just re-emphasized what the word to any literate. I mean, the word tradition shows we are not leaving this point. We do it over and over again. I mean, we were using blackboards and chalk. Do we still do that? Talk to me now. Now. We don't. We've evolved. And because they are not sticking to the word tradition now, they are entering digital. No, traditional is just, please, to answer your question, I don't want to go so emotional, but to answer your question, right, a huge component of the digital era are teachers. And why I exist is that every teacher becomes tech savvy. Thank you.
Yeah. Chair, I think I want to ask some other questions.
No. We'll come back to you again. So let me just go to the floor because a lot of wow. So this time, so the lady right at the back. The lady at the back. Okay, fine. And then we'll take the gentleman here, the gentleman with the dark glasses, and we'll take the lady on that side. Yes. So start off, yes. Please go ahead. Your name and your question. And let's try and make it short so we can get as many and different opinions on this matter. Thank you.
My name is Isilda Ross, and I recently relocated to the United Arab Emirates from the US. My question is for Kennedy. There's a couple of things that I don't agree with in your portion of the debate, and I have one question for you. Your statistic of successful completion rates for digital learning, where did they come from? I worked for a full-time virtual school since 2004, where kids don't step foot in a classroom. And when I left last October, as their school leader, might I add, I was their school leader, we had over 90% successful completion rate. So I'm just wondering where your statistic came from.
Okay, thank you. The gentleman here? No, the other one behind him, yes.
So good evening, everyone. Very interesting debate. So my name is Ferdinand, and I'm the Learning, Innovation, and Technology Lead at Leap Africa. I want to emphasize that I'm an advocate for AI. Most of the AIs we use today, I'm proudly say that I'm one of the beta testers for most of the AIs we use today. I have buddies. They're called Copilot, OpenAI, Gemini. Those are my guys. And while we were, really talking about this debate, I quickly ran to them to ask. And I said, so guys, what would traditional learning methods become obsolete in the digital age? And they all disagreed. And these are tools that we're saying that is going to, take over the world very soon. And I asked it, a prompt, and I said, okay, create a question on this to the digital team. And now this is my AI asking you, the digital team, to say, given the response from all the other AIs stating that traditional learning methods will become obsolete in the digital age, could you provide insights on how your team advocating for the motion that traditional learning methods will become obsolete? Show your perspectives on this stance. That's my question.
Thank you. The lady, yes, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. First of all, please...
Your name, please?
Sophie, sorry. My name is Sophie. I'm an instructional designer, actually. How many instructional designers do we have today? Ooh, okay. That could be a better number, but let's say. So my question is, in my job, I am at the service of the teacher. I am at the service of the education of the learners. So my question for you guys is, from what you have said, what measures and how can we be sure that digital learning is always at the service of education, of human beings, of teachers, of learners, and not the other way around, that we're not working for technology? So that's for me like a way of connecting the fact that traditional school, let's say, will never be obsolete, but we can be helped with technology. So if you have specific measures that you can share, like this kind of, that would be it.
Thank you. Let's get responses on those questions, please.
Thank you very much. I think I'll start from the AI guru, who has said that he has asked AI to tell him whether traditional methods will be obsolete. Of course, you know where AI is picking information from. It's picking information generated by traditional scholars. Because the people in the digital age have not yet fed that information in the system. So definitely it will have to do that. But ask that same question after 10 years, you will see what it will give you. There was an issue on Obamaization, if I can use that word, Obama, that if we were in the digital era, then we would not get Obama. Actually, we would get many Obamas, because now there is a lot of movement. In the digital era, there's a lot of movement of people. In the traditional era, when Obama's father went to the US, very few people could travel because of the rigidities that were there. But now, actually somebody can Obamaize, if I can use that word, can get an Obama online. Yes, if I can use that. Now, there was another question which was saying that Mildred asked and said that my university is a traditional university. I can tell you it's not. It's not a traditional university because we have moved. Because the traditional system, we left it long ago and we have moved. We have really moved. So if you are still thinking that our universities are traditional, they are not. Even other universities in the world, in Africa here, they have moved because they have adopted digital methods or methods of the digital era in their processes, in administration, in records management, in assessment, and so on, records keeping and so on. So they are not as pure traditional universities. They have shifted, as my colleague Valeta has been able to define what traditional is. They have shifted. Then I think that is that, yes. Do you have anything to add?
I'm good.
No, then we'll bring it back to...
The question first, I think, was questioning where we got the stat from. So I have to say, of course, there's very many learning instructors who have way more than the global average, which is 20% completion rate for online courses. And I absolutely respect the work that you do, and I think that's probably the case. But there's very many research articles that have been put out by organizations that handle massive open online courses like Coursera, Udemy, Moodle, etc., that corroborate the global average completion rate for online courses sitting around 20%. I think that's something that's common knowledge. Of course, it's average. That doesn't mean that there are no courses that go above that. That's definitely not the case. And I mean, it's not like I have the specific bibliography in my head, so I can't give you, the ISBN number or the specific research, but it's very well known and it's out there.
Okay, thank you very much. I will now just take 2 questions. Wow, okay. The lady in front here will be one of the people, and I'll have to go with the gentleman, and it'll be the gentleman. Yes, the gentleman at the back there. Yes, that one. Yes, yeah. So we'll only have those 2 because of time.
Hi, everyone. My name is Georgian Rutambedo. I'm from the Gambia. I developed the digital transformation strategy for the TVET sector as a UNESCO consultant in the Gambia. I'm also the CEO of Insys Global, which is a technology company, and a woman in STEM and girls in STEM advocate. This is for Kennedy and Verusha. Currently, in an AI research laboratory like Google DeepMind, it's taking them a few minutes to answer research questions that would have taken thousands of years of PhD work. What is your take on that?
Okay, and the gentleman, please.
Mr. Chairman, it's ironical that you are now choosing 2 Gambian representatives to close your question. I'm also from the Gambia, the Vice Chancellor of an international open university. So I'm sure my guys on this side will be happy to say I will support that traditional this thing is going obsolete. I have an issue here. First of all, the public we are addressing, I think almost 90% are all people who study from traditional. So they have a way of getting emotionally attached to traditional. Yeah. So there's a bias already. And then the second issue is that I don't think the word obsolete was absolutely right in the topic, because it's a transition. Obsolete is not possible anywhere. So the debate doesn't even hold. I'm sorry to say, those on the table. Because obsolete cannot happen in this context. Education is a transformation. It's a process. It evolves, it goes on, and both parties start to argue. Those who hold onto the tradition will eventually relent and continue. Why I'm saying that, I have 37 years of experience. I started teaching in 87 when computers didn't exist in the schools. No computers. Today, I cannot teach in any school without leveraging technology to improve my teaching. So I'm just saying that probably the debate question was an issue here, but I'm waiting for us to see how best we can listen. That's where I find a kind of a dilemma in my voting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So what I will do at this point, I'll actually move into our closing statements, and I'll allow each, the proposer and those who are against the motion, to include what matters they feel also came from the floor in their statements, and they each have 5 minutes. So first, we will start with the team that was for the motion to come forward, and we'll conclude with the team that was against the motion. So one of you from each team, please. And you can come to the podium kindly. We are now concluding. Please come to the podium.
Honorable Speaker and honorable members of this august House, we have had an intense debate on whether traditional education systems are going to become obsolete. And from all the discussions that members have had here, it is evident, it has come out clearly that yes, traditional education systems are going to become obsolete unless they won't become obsolete if they integrate or they blend with the new teaching and learning approaches which are of the digital age. And therefore, those that will not blend, I insist, are going to become obsolete. Those that will blend with the methods of the digital age will evolve. And that's why even our opposition was able to recognize the fact that we are evolving. And of course, when you evolve, if you evolve from one generation to another, you cannot continue saying that the one you evolved from is not obsolete. The one you evolved from, because of some limitations, it became obsolete. It will exist, but you leave it, and you'll continue with the new one that you are evolving to. And that's why we conclude by saying, as they said, that we are evolving. And because we're evolving, the traditional system is going to become obsolete. Because even the learners that we are working with now have changed. They have disappeared. I mean, the learners of the traditional system have disappeared. We have new learners who are tech-savvy. They are digital natives. They possess or have access to multiple devices. They have, of course, short attention spans, which can only be attuned to the digital age. They prefer co-creating knowledge with their teachers. Yesterday, somebody said these should not be called clients, but they should be called knowledge generators. Can the traditional system allow a student really to discuss with the teacher? The traditional system actually thinks that the teacher is the sage on stage, and they cannot discuss. But the digital age requires that there is an interplay of minds between the learner and the teacher. And in the digital era, the learners we are having want to learn as they experiment with what they are learning, or learn as they are working, just as we saw Madam CEO here. Those are the kind of learners that we are having in this era. And therefore, those kind of learners cannot be able to embrace the digital system. I mean, the traditional system. Hence, the traditional system is going to become obsolete. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll now call upon Kennedy to come and close with the arguments against the motion.
Hi again, everyone. So when I was 9 years old, my family moved from Lagos, where I was born, to Calabar, which is a smaller city where I ended up growing up. For the first 3 years after we moved, I struggled very deeply academically. So from going from being a top student in primary school and the start of secondary school to doing really, really badly in secondary school. I moved from a small school with about 150 people to one with more than 2,000 people, and I struggled very badly. My mom was also a teacher at that school, so it was very difficult for me to convince her to change schools. But after fighting with my both parents for a very long while, they agreed to ship me off to another school. And it was a very small school, and a new school. I was in the pioneer set to graduate from that school. And I took my bad behavior, so not enjoying classes, skipping classes, going to play games, PlayStation with my friends, to the new school, not copying my notes, and doing the academic work I had to do. But in that school, I had a teacher. His name is Mr. Memumo, and he taught me government. And he was very particular about me for some very weird reason. He always called me out vocally for not doing my work, for not being diligent. Sadly enough for me, he knew my dad, who is also a professor, because he studied political science, which my dad teaches. And he always compared me to my dad. He always compared me to other students in class. And there's nothing I wanted more than for him to get off my back and just let me be truant. And my strategy for, to let him get off my back was to actually start to do my homework, just so he stopped speaking on me and, calling me out publicly. After about 8 weeks of diligently doing my homework with the intended purpose, of Mr. Mem getting off my back, I realized something strange started to happen. I started to fall in love with the process of doing the work. I started to fall in love with going back home, to discuss with my dad and do my homework with him and, be very intellectually stimulated. If we had, page limits, write 5 pages of homework, I would write 6 or 7. And I really started to enjoy competing against other classmates who were really smart. Ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what traditional education does to you. And I don't know what's flexibility if not that. It takes people who probably did not have that much belief in themselves, provides them, puts them within structures where they can interact with other people, where they can compete with other people, where there's very specific regimen for what it means to be a good student, where you have instructors like Mr. MM who particularly know, understand you, can pick on you, can be authoritarian when they need to, because that's what consists in great teachers. This other side of the house wants to tell us that, oh, well, for us to move into digital education, all we want is for teachers to know how to use digital tools. That's not enough. That's a very soft stance they are taking, right? I gave a comprehensive explanation for what traditional education means in all its forms. It's not changed historically since the 11th century, right? None of that has changed. The structures and forms in which it's delivered. And that's on the opposing side of the house is what we argue will continue to happen. For this side of the house to win today's debate, what we needed, I mean, it's too late now, but what we needed from them, essentially, was not saying, okay, look, we're going to pick and choose specific aspects of traditional education, like having teachers, or like having a curriculum, or maybe having a community, and we're just going to host the community digitally. That doesn't suffice, right? The use of any digital tool in traditional education does not mean that education is digital. If not, when we started using typewriters to type, lesson notes and course syllabuses, we should have been like, oh yeah, that's digital education because we're using typewriters to make lesson notes. But that's not the case. Traditional education is here to stay. It continues to evolve. It has evolved over the past few centuries and will continue to do so. And that's the stance of our side of the house. Still very proud to oppose today's motion.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to both sides. We're now coming to the end of our debate and our program here. And I think it's in order that I recognize that in our presence is the government representative, the Permanent Secretary for Ministry of Education, Charles Karakai. Sir, thank you for coming and being here with us. And just a bit of background, because you walked in when we were debating. We've been debating the motion, the House believes that traditional education system will become obsolete in the digital age. And just for your knowledge, the views that they have taken up are not really things that ordinarily they believe in, but it is a debate process, and also for those who are watching, so that then they're not personally held liable for any statements in the institutions where they work. We would like to see them back next year again. But as I say that, I must say that this has been a kaleidoscope of so many different people that you all are here in the room that contribute to education on this continent, from suppliers, from teachers, from professors, from device manufacturers, and the list goes on and on and on, who are so invaluable in so many ways to what has happened over the last 3 days. But before we'll hear from the Permanent Secretary, now comes the proof of the pudding and the eating. It is now you, the audience, who will decide who has won the debate. So what we are going to do, I will ask those who are for the motion that the House believes traditional education system will become obsolete in the digital age to raise your hands. Again, I will repeat, those who are for the motion that this House believes that traditional education systems will become obsolete in the digital age, raise your hands. Okay, put them down. In fairness, and those who are against the motion that the House believes the traditional education system will become obsolete in the digital age. Ladies and gentlemen, those against the motion, I'll ask them to stand up. Please stand up. And I'll ask the winners to come forward. And I'll ask Permanent Secretary, could you come and take a picture with them, please? With the winners. Yes, we'll ask him to take a picture with the winners of the debate first. And a round of applause for them again. And of course, we'll ask their worthy opponents to now also join in the picture together. So thank you all for being such a great audience, and thank you for all the great contributions that you made towards the debate. It was really interesting to see the passion and the understanding of the issues that affect you in your various institutions, in your places of work. Those who are online and who are so passionate, who defended and spoke about the 90% that finished, and those also who said that everybody here got a traditional education and couldn't do without it. So you've all been very invaluable to the process that we've had here. But all good things must come to a close and to an end. And we want to thank the government of Rwanda for agreeing to so graciously host more than 700 of us who have come here throughout the week. And I'll now ask Mr. Charles Karakai, the Permanent Secretary of Education, to come and give the closing remarks in this eLearning Africa 2024 conference.
Thank you so much. It's indeed very difficult to say and to announce that this very important event is ending now. We would have liked to have many days and have such kind of debates that are so important and educative. But as you rightly mentioned, we have to say the event is ending today. So, honorable ministers and heads of delegations here present, members of delegations, managers and representatives of edtech companies here today, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, good evening. It is a pleasure and an honor for me to be with you at the end of this 3-day of the 17th International Conference and Exhibition on Digital Education, Training, Skills Development, also known as eLearning Africa 2024. I'm sure you have all enjoyed the beauty of this global forum for everyone with an interest in education, training, skills development in Africa. Over the past 3 days, we witnessed the remarkable progress and the potential of digital learning across all African continents. And thank you so much for having chosen Rwanda to be your destination for this conference. Please, I would like to all of us give a round of applause for this choice. I would like to start with a vote of appreciation to all of you who sacrificed yourselves by giving time and money to make the global event happen again in Rwanda around the theme, Education Fuels Innovation, Investment Amplifies Skills. Africa's vibrant leap forward, your presence here in Kigali around this important theme confirms that we are all committed to invest our resources to transform education systems, focusing on improving the quality of skills we are developing among the young people of Africa through the proper use of technology. Allow me to recognize the presence of high-level policy decision makers and practitioners from education, from business, from the government, the ministers who did not only attend the 16th Ministerial Roundtable, but also the 17th International Conference and Exhibition on Digital Education. The event was honored to be attended by the ministers from the foreign countries, Cameroon, the Central African Republic, Eswatini, Libya, and Zimbabwe. Your dedication and commitment to the promotion of ICT in education are of paramount importance to the education in Africa. Honorable ministers, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, together we have explored the groundbreaking technologies, innovative pedagogic approaches, and collaborative initiatives that are transforming the education landscape. From immersive virtual classrooms to adaptive learning platforms, the solutions presented here have demonstrated the power of technology to overcome barriers, expand access, and deliver high-quality learning experiences. We must be ready to use the emerging education technologies such as artificial intelligence, robotics, as well as player-based learning through technology. The true strength of this conference lies not only in the ideas shared, but in the corrections forged and the collective vision that unites us all. We are a community of educators, technologists, policymakers, and visionaries who are driven by a shared commitment in empowering the next generation of African learners. Our teachers need to be equipped with enough tools for them to contribute enough to their commitment. Both pre-service and in-service teachers' training should be aligned with the current development grounded on 21st century skills. Through our discussions and interventions and interactions, we have gained invaluable insights, we've challenged each other's perspectives, and we have ignited the new collaborations. This close pollination of knowledge and expertise is what makes eLearning Africa such a transformative platform for the continent. As we depart, let us take with us a renewed sense of purpose and a determination to translate these ideas into tangible actions. Let us return to our communities our institutions to our spheres of influence and work tirelessly to implement the solutions that we have witnessed here. Honorable ministers, dear delegates, ladies and gentlemen, together we can break down the barriers to education, and we can bridge the digital divide and ensure that every child, every youth, and every adult in Africa has access to the transformative power of learning. I thank you all for your invaluable contributions, your boundless energy, and your unwavering commitment to the future of education in Africa. Let us continue to learn, to innovate, and to inspire one another as we embark on the next chapter of this remarkable journey. Allow me to officially declare the closing of 17th International Conference and Exhibition on Digital Education, Training, Skills Development, the eLearning Africa. Thank you, and may the spirit of eLearning Africa continue to guide us moving forward. Wishing you a safe journey as you travel back to your home countries, and those who still have some days in Kigali, please enjoy it. Thank you so much.
That's the wrap. So come, let me take a picture. Use a selfie. Come, guys. Come. Yes. I am the king of selfies. I love that. If I didn't take it, then I take it back.